Hello guys, thank you for joining us today. Today we will have the post-reflection meeting and we will host by Eva, okay? We also have Dr. Vaz Taras here that he will share some of his thoughts and also have a time with our students. So Eva, the stage is yours.
Emily and Yasha are helping me a lot.
Yes, that's true, sorry.
Okay. Okay, do you properly see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Perfect. Okay, we're going to start by a small introduction of ourselves. Could Yash start, please?
Hello, so welcome back and good day to everyone. So me, Emily, and Ava will be presenting our work on and advice on the X Culture Post Project Reflection. Next page.
Oh wait, but I meant introduction by who are you?
Oh, I see, sorry. So my name is Yash Ramasaputra. I am one of the Academy track coaches, and this is the first time I'm becoming an Academy coach. So I'm really enjoying my experience here. Sorry for the misunderstanding.
No problem, thank you. Emily, could you go ahead, please?
Hello, everyone. My name is Emily. I'm 16 years old and I'm from Peru.
Thank you. And my name is Eva Famika. I am 16 too, and I am from Belgium. Okay, I think we can start. Okay, so we will start with a small introduction of what is a reflection paper. And then Emily is going to explain you how to structure it, what are the different sections of it, as well as their purposes. We will continue with some example. We will show some reflection papers and then other reflection paper from fictional characters. So it's going to be a fun and insightful thing at the same time. And we will end up with a small game related to the reflection papers as well.
Hello, everyone. So now let's talk about what's exactly a reflection paper, why it is important, and what we expect from you. So a reflection paper within X Culture is a document for you to convey your experiences and reflect on the knowledge you've acquired. It is essential for you to voice your thoughts because you will start to recognize the abilities you've developed during these months and the work you've done. Basically, it is a step back to analyze your involvement. On top of that, a reflection paper is extremely valuable because when applying it to universities or jobs, which I believe you're soon to do, you want to mention your experience in X Culture Academy. This is one of a kind experience that not all of the teenagers are able to be part of. So to write everything down, it's helpful for you to understand what you've learned, the challenges you face, and what was the appropriate way to solve them. Plus, the X Culture team learns the right ways to improve from your contributions. So how do we expect you to do this? That's why today I will be introducing you a structure that you could follow, which is a general format for you to have this process quite easier. Eva, could you go on to the next slide, please?
The next or this one is okay?
Yes, the next.
Okay.
Thank you. So this structure covers 3 sections. The first one is a description of your experiences. The second one is an advice to global team members and managers. And you will conclude with a feedback to X Culture. So let's go more in depth on what you should include.
Do I need to go to the next slide?
Yes, please.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry. For section 1, what you should cover is basically a description of your experiences. You could guide yourself with just describe your experiences in your international team, your interactions with the other team members, the communication flow, the team leadership, the workload distribution, and other things. Also include what challenges did you have and how do you address them. Feel free to add any other observations, interesting stories, or insights based on your team experience. And tell us, what did you learn about international business, about your client company, about online collaboration? And what is one thing you would change about this semester? And how did the groups on social media of X-Culture make your experience a bit enjoying? What you want to do for this part is ask yourself what position you were in at the start of the project and how you progressed. Going on to the section 2 is an advice to global team members and to managers as well. So what you should cover is, based on your experience, what advice would you do differently, or if you had to complete a project in a global virtual team? Again, what advice will you give to members and managers of global virtual teams? The do's and don'ts. And finally, for section 3, which is a feedback to X-Culture. What you should cover is, what was your experience in X-Culture in general? What worked and what didn't work for you? What can we do to improve the X-Culture project and make it more developmental for students? And what is one thing we could change about X-Culture to make it more emphasizing? As you may know, X-Culture is still in beta testing and needs daily and has a daily improvement based on what you've based on your experiences. So feel free to share us, to be creative, to tell us what you've changed, what you want to do differently if you have the possibility. Don't limit yourself. Tell the good and bad things you experience so we could do better on the next semester. Now, I don't know if there's any other question left or everything was left unclear.
This was about the theory part of the presentation. So if you have any questions related to the structure or what you should include or not in your reflection paper, this is know that we recommend you to share them with us. But if you don't have any questions, we can go to the next slide.
I actually have. I'm not sure if you're going to answer that, but probably there are a couple of students asking, why do I need to do that?
Why do you need to do the reflection paper?
Yeah.
Okay. Emily, do you want to start replying to this, and then I can complete if there is something to add?
Well, as I said, as you want to do a reflection paper for you to understand and step back on your involvement, your participation, what you've done, and the work you've was able to excel.
Yeah, and sometimes when you're facing problems or when you're just like working on your report, you don't really analyze what is happening around you. But then the reflection paper is a way for you to step back and analyze and reflect on all these things that happened when you were working with the other student and see all the things that you have achieved, because sometimes you are just so much into it that you just don't see that you are making progress. So yeah, this is a way to step back and see who you have, all the things you have acquired during this experience.
I can give you a boring answer, but the correct one. There have been a lot of studies into how people learn, starting with, there was this guy, his name was Bandura, so one of the most prominent psychologists in sort of educational psychologists. And since then, since his work in the 60s, a lot of studies have confirmed the same. That is, the way our brain learns is that if you have sort of the reflection phase, the learning is much more effective, much more intensive. And so a lot of experiments have been conducted where people would do something like sculpture or whatever other activity. And so in the control group, people would just stop and that's it. And then maybe do it again some other time and then just stop. And then in the experimental groups, people would be asked to actively reflect. So sometimes it's called active mindfulness, and sometimes it's just called reflection, but where you specifically allocate time and you look back at what happened, sort of analyze and write it up. And so inevitably studies show that when people do stop and reflect, the sort of brain starts rewiring itself, so to speak. So reflection happens, learning happens, and people do show better results when tested later on that same activity, either how fast they can do it or how well they can recall different things or whatever test they might have. Another reason I always ask my students to do a reflection paper. So in my course at the university level, when students participate in X-Culture, they must do a reflection paper as well. And so both for learning, but another reason being is that when you will be applying for jobs, that's part of your portfolio. So one thing you should be doing now, if you have not been, if you haven't started doing it yet, is compiling your portfolio. So basically any interesting things you do, any certificates you get, any recommendation letters, but also samples of your work, but also reflection papers. And so you added almost like your, I guess it's not so much your journal, but rather it is your portfolio. And so as you will be going up for an interview for, I don't know, a scholarship or a job or whatever else you may be applying, it's always nice to have that folder or binder or box with all those samples of your work, including your reflection papers. Believe me, it will have a very strong impact on the interviewer when you show them and say, okay, I did this X-Culture project, here is my certificate, and they'll say, this is good. Then here is my recommendation letter. They'll say, okay, this is interesting. And then you'll say, and here is my reflection paper. This is what I learned. This is what I would do differently. This is what went well and what didn't go well. And so that piece of paper will have the strongest impact on the interviewer, because it not only shows that you participated and completed the project, but it also shows that you are of that kind who actually does reflect on your experience, does write up what happened, how things went, and maybe even sometimes criticized your own performance. So that will be the thing that will catch their attention. And then finally, just to prompt, to prove that the method works and it does sort of make a difference, if you respect anyone, any historic figure, from history, most likely you will find that they did have their own diaries. So they basically would reflect on their experiences, if not every day, then at least regularly. So they would, something happened and they write to themselves, what happened, how they feel about it, what they would have done differently. And so I don't know, maybe, once you become a prominent figure, you're compelled to do a diary. But something's telling me that they became prominent figures. So they achieved a success because they constantly engaged in this reflection sort of activity, where they would critically analyze their own experience, try to understand what went well, what went not well, what could have been done better, so that when the next time comes and they have to do it again, they're better prepared. So in this case, don't treat it as something you do for us because we require it and you must do it to get the certificate. No, it's very much for you. And as I said, both for you to learn better, but also for you to have that piece of paper for your future employers, supervisors, parents, or maybe even friends. When they see it, they will be impressed. In fact, ask yourself, would you be impressed if your friend showed you, said, I completed a school, a year at school, for example, or a trip overseas. And not only I took some photos and not only had some fun, but here are actually my thoughts on how it went. So you would probably think like, the guy's a little crazy, but actually that, that's respectful, that's a good thing. So yeah, there is definitely a reason we do it. And, at some point, if you don't see that reason now, at some point you will see and appreciate it.
That was not a boring answer, but thank you for sharing. Yeah, Maxim, do you have a question?
So basically, I was interested, like the last few weeks in journaling and stuff like that. So reflecting on my own thoughts and maybe writing some blogs or even YouTube videos. So, for example, like could I use this reflection paper to like as a blog post or something? I'm totally allowed to do this, right?
Definitely, you're going to share your experience with other, and it's going to be beneficial not only for you but for other people. So that's very generous if you share it on a blog. So yeah, that's definitely a good idea.
Actually,
Thanks.
I am not sure if it's a better idea, but I have an idea. What if you not only write your reflection paper and do the blog, what if you can also record a video regarding that? In that way, we may also post in our page. Is that something that you are eager to do it or not?
I guess I'm like, that's something I was thinking about, so I could try doing so.
Yeah, and you can ask your coaches for some help or guidance, and they will help
Sure.
you. Sure.
And so-
Videos would be wonderful, can be easier for you to do, but also more valuable if we want to share it for training purposes with the next generation of culture students.
Actually, Maxim,
Okay,
you don't
thanks.
need to contact your coach. I actually will send you a message, okay? So we can plan this video together. Is that fine? Or do you prefer to do
Yeah,
it
I
by
guess so.
yourself?
I was thinking about doing it by myself, but if you want to record it as a presentation or something.
No, I
but-
probably I will just give you some tips or maybe questions to you.
Oh yeah, that's totally okay.
Okay, then I can send you a message then. Thank you.
That's a very good idea. Okay, if there is no more question, we can go to the next slide, which is a small activity. Yes.
So hello, so to continue, I'm actually 21 years old and I live in Indonesia. So for my duty here, I will give you some fun and interesting examples of how to make like reflection paper, because you might be wondering, how do you exactly make a reflection paper based on the sections that Emily had provided? So first up, next slide. So first up is Kylo Ren's reflection. First up is Steve Rogers' reflection. Sorry for that. So I will just try to read the reflection itself. So with the stone, it was interesting. The last time I interacted with people from around the world, I ended up getting frozen for 70 years. We all assembled together well, and while Tony and I had many spats along the way, I still think he's nothing without this dude. We managed to work well together. Even though I was the leader, we ended up getting babysitted by Natasha all the way. Our coach, Yuri, well, let's just say was not enthralled. Clint was just suddenly disappeared halfway through the project. So we thought he was a free rider. However, we have come to learn that he was having family problems, something about his family getting vaporized, and him having to get involved in some bad apples in Japan or something like that. Well, challenges. Golly, this is a difficult one. Maybe, okay, stay with me here. This may seem like a stretch. Maybe the purple dude with the most jagged chin you will ever see in your life. He may have been kind of problematic, but as you know, when it comes to any problem, I'm an expert. After all, I can do this all day. Oh, Tony got a daughter. How interesting. Natasha and Banner were having this weird dynamic all along. Fury died, and now he was alive again. Might have been his Wi-Fi. One of my friends on the team, Bucky, briefly tried to kill me, but that's okay. He's a little crazier after the train fall from the train. Well, here is the full version of Steve Rogers' history in the MCU. So for the points that we need to learn is that throughout the reflection, Steve Rogers has shown respect towards his teammate. However, what he should have done is that he shouldn't have called it as the buff purple dude with the most jacked chin, I think he wouldn't be able to focus or elaborate more on what exactly he has a problem with him as well, especially at the last part because it's very confusing. But however, one thing that he did very well is that not only does he talk about like Clint doing free riding, but he also gives like reasons and shows an understanding towards Clint's situation, which not only allows Clint to have like a better score, but also shows that he's willing to understand and solve and help compromise with Clint. But however, at the end, he shows his strength and determination to solve whatever problems that occurs, which is very important because usually in a reflection paper, even though there are weaknesses along the way, you need to show your strength and at least the determination for you to improve from your weaknesses and stand out strong as being better at making a team report in the future. Then.
Steve
Okay.
Rogers is Captain America, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Yash, for this. Yeah, we can go to the, I'm just checking the time. Okay, we have a small game, but we would like to do a round table after. So we may only do 1 or 2 rounds. So after we can like discuss together and have a fun discussion. But basically the game is that you will read a part of some fictional characters reflection paper, and then you will need to guess who is the fictional character. I don't know if it's like very clear, but you will when we will start, it will seem like an evidence. Okay. Okay, it's question 1. Sorry for this, but okay. The game of X-Culture has been a food for a long time now. My dear companion Watson proved to be a good support despite his silent nature. Okay, so now you have to guess who wrote this. You can just like type it in the chat, and we will we'll compare your replies. Okay, so we have Sherlock Holmes from Maxim. What about the others? Who is there? We have Colin. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. Do you have any idea, maybe?
Yes, maybe yes, Sherlock Holmes. I think Watson is his like friend.
Yeah, that's actually correct. This was Sherlock Holmes. So bravo for this. Okay, let's do 1 or 2 rounds and then okay, here. I've been late to a lot of meetings. Maybe not everyone works at my speed, so I guess I gotta wait for people to respond. Oh, and I will not spam their inboxes anymore. This is a bit of a hard one because if you don't know the fictional character, you won't find who this is. But I'm sure someone is gonna find. I believe in you. Okay, Maxim, you said flesh. I guess you didn't want to say flesh, but maybe that was. If it's flesh, I don't know what it is.
Flash is a character from the DC universe
Okay.
who is owner of super speed powers.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I thought it was.
I'm not
with-
sure if I wrote his name correctly. Maybe that's the problem.
Yeah, I actually think it's with an A, but
Yeah, maybe.
that's why I didn't. Yeah. Okay, what about the others? Oh, we have a second Maxim. Do you want to maybe share your answer with us? Okay, it seems like he's not really there. Oh, but Yaroslav, do you maybe know who this is?
I don't know, this question is much harder than about Sherlock.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Actually, Maxim, you were right. This was the Flash. Oh, wait, sorry. It went to the next slide, but you were right. This was the Flash. Let's do a last one. Wait. Even though I had plenty of free time this semester, my internet connection was very bad. Living in a tower didn't help at all. In addition, communication with my teammates was hard for me as I have never had any other friends than my mother. Raphael and Maxim look confused.
Yeah, I am.
Let's wait for the answers. Okay, Colin suggested that it may be Rapunzel.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty reasonable guess.
Okay, let's see if this was right. Okay, Colin, you were right. This was Rapunzel. So congratulations and thank you to everyone for participating to this incredible, to this nice game. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a princess. So you were close, Dr. Vaz, but it was not Fiona. But oh yeah, that was okay with the tower. No, I get it. Okay, yeah, that was a good reasoning. Okay, thank you so much for this presentation, for participating in this presentation, and for Yash and Emily to help me presenting and preparing all of this. Now we can have a small. We are gonna have a small run table, but I guess Rafael, you're gonna explain this.
Yeah.
Thank
Basically,
you.
we are just going to ask the students on just to share their experience so far regarding the Xculture Academy, how they felt throughout the program, how they feel about the admin team, and all the tests that they have been doing throughout this semester. So maybe Maxine can start. Maybe how was your team? How did you feel
Well,
about it?
I'm particularly
now,
interested. I'm particularly interested how you structured your team coordination. Like, did you have a formally elected leader, or did you make all decisions collectively? Basically, how did you organize yourselves, and then did it work or did it not work?
we didn't have a formally chosen leader, but we had an informal leader who did most of the coordination and leadership, and it was me. Yeah, so actually I feel
Surprise.
like right now I feel kind of tired after all of the program. Some of the teammates weren't showing much like enthusiasm, and some were. So, well, I feel pretty happy with how our report turned out. As I said, it was kind of difficult because some of my teammates didn't show enough enthusiasm, some didn't write enough, etc. So, yeah. But
how did
still,
you distribute the workload? Was it like everybody was writing a part of the report, or was it divided up by the function? Like you do the coordination, somebody else does the writing, somebody else does research, or something else?
so at first we planned to work on each section together, and then at the end of each section we plan to like make a group of people who will be responsible in improving it until the end of the project, and still working with the team on other sections. But well, it didn't work out well, so we just ended up working autonomously on different sections. So we just distributed our roles and parts which we worked on.
So you said that some team members were not as diligent, not as responsible as others. So what happened to the parts that they had to write? I assume some of them didn't deliver on time, or did they in the end do their job, all of them?
I mean, I contributed to most of those parts, which weren't like haven't been written.
Oh, so you took over and actually you finished it up?
Yeah, some of the parts, some of them we like found out the reasons why my teammates weren't able to write or like contribute to the report. So my other teammates, a few of them also helped me with these parts. Yeah, I mean, some of like most of those teammates who weren't showing much enthusiasm, they wrote a bit, but yeah, but it was just like a bit, so we had to expand it.
And so what would you say was the most difficult thing for you as a team leader? What was the biggest challenge managing and participating in this project?
Well, probably, as I said, the lack of enthusiasm of my team members. Also, a bit of a problem was difference in time zones, which kind of like influenced organizing of our weekly team meetings. But then it wasn't really a big problem at the end of the project because, well, the one team member who wasn't able to join our meetings, like another team member suggested us to make her organized, like make doodle polls so everyone could attend.
And you had regular live meetings too, so it sounds like every week you would meet together, or how was it? And
we
so
had
most of the time, most of the people actually did show up for those meetings?
Yeah, most of the people did show up. Some of them didn't like talk much, but still everyone participated in some discussions. Yeah, so we had one a team meeting each week.
That's not bad actually, because I know many teams don't go that far. So it sounds like you were actually, even though it was not perfect, but it was more than what we normally see in global virtual teams in general. Not only X-Culture, but you know, in any team, there is always someone who is less enthusiastic and someone who perhaps is not as productive. So it's not too bad. But looking back, so imagine that you wake up and it's January the 30th again, or whatever that was the start date. Would you do anything differently, knowing what you know now? So do you think some of that could have been improved through your action, for example?
Yeah, probably could have like find out maybe we could like communicate more because actually we didn't know each other that well still, like even though the project has ended, we don't have much in common. We did some small talks and we have common themes. And also I would probably ask the teammates who weren't really enthusiastic why. I asked some of them, but I'm not sure about like all of my teammates.
So can I ask you then, why do you think they were not very active? Do you think they were just simply lazy or too busy with other things, or just didn't know how? Maybe they wanted to be more engaged, but were too shy, or maybe, I don't know, missed some initial introduction phase during which the connection happens and then simply it was almost, you know, kind of awkward to start talking about some personal things or be more involved, or something else? Like, what would be your justification based on your impression?
I think that they just like some of them just didn't have enough time because well, it just seems so that they were like had kind of a tight schedule.
Right.
I'm not sure about that, but I think so.
All in school, all busy at school, I assume.
Yeah, and maybe internet problems were also some kind of a deal.
So what countries did you have represented on your team?
We had 2 team members from Taiwan, then one team member from Indonesia, one from USA, and me from Ukraine.
Okay, very informative. Yeah. Thank you.
No problem.
Who wants to go next? Actually, one more question from Maxime. Would you do Xculture again? How did you feel about the program? Did you feel that it was worth it, the time that you spent?
Yeah, it totally was worth it because I learned how to work in a team. I learned some like parts of coordinating a team. Also, I learned something about business, which I'm really interested in. Also, how all the analysis, like before doing steps in business, right, is conducted.
Maxim, what city are you in?
I'm sorry, could you repeat, please?
Where exactly are you located? What city are you in?
I'm in Rivne.
So you're in Rivne. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. It just, I'm kind of curious that of all the countries, of all the team members on your team, so you with all the blackouts that were happening much of the semester and all of the interruptions, so you turned out to be the most engaged one. So even though if you were absent half of the time, I would have understand due to the, circumstances in the country. So, okay, but good to know. So Rivne is relatively quiet, so at least late.
Yeah, so I had an opportunity, so yeah, I took it.
Very good, very good.
Thank you, Maxine. Maybe Yaroslav, can you go next?
Okay, so I had an amazing experience, but first I thought that I would have some problems because I didn't know anything about business. I was inexperienced, but fortunately I was wrong because it wasn't so difficult and my team was quite polite and friendly. They helped me when I had some questions. Sometimes we had discussion about
How big was your team? How big was your team? How many people? What countries?
So there were 2 team members from Taiwan, me from Ukraine, one from USA, and one from Indonesia, but he was a free rider.
Same composition. Okay, very good. Mm-hmm.
And he became free rider after we have chosen our client company. He didn't explain why he don't work. Maybe he had some problems. Who knows? But we keep to work without him. There were 2 informal leaders, and they provided leadership for our team. They said who should do. Wait a second. They said what everyone should do, and I'm sorry.
So how about your communication? How did you structure it? Did you have regular video meetings, or was it all email or something else?
We used telegrams, and there were three video calls per month.
So Telegram, that's only text, right? So you kind of had like a group channel in Telegram where you would just type text and share files. Is that how it works?
But we quite often use telegrams, and we used.
Did you also use like Dropbox or Google Docs, or what did you use for editing files, or did you just move one copy
Google
back
Docs.
and forth?
Google Docs.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Very good.
Then we used
any challenges that you experienced? Like, what was the biggest challenge for you as a team member?
We couldn't find the best time for a video meeting. I think that was the biggest problems, and free riding was too problem because there were a lot of tasks. There were lots of tasks, but fortunately we did.
So can I ask you guys a question, both you and Maxim? So you both mentioned that you had some team members who did not participate as actively as you expected them to. And Maxim used a politically correct term. So he called them as people who were not as enthusiastic. You call them free riders, which is probably a more direct term. But so moving forward, imagine that we make you in charge, appoint you our, I don't know, free rider manager, or something.
You repeat, please.
I think we,
Basically develop a strategy for preventing free riding. Just a second, my sound.
yeah,
Can-
we kind of lost you for a couple seconds.
Yep. Rafael, is it not working?
It's
Hello, can you hear me?
it's robotic.
If you, okay.
No, it's kind of robotic still. But just let's wait for a minute for Vas. Yaroslav, and how did you feel about the program itself? Would you do it again, or were you happy with your final result?
It's great. I've learned how to work in a team, and I think I should have this experience again.
So guys, can you hear me? Is it working now?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, okay.
So the question then for everyone, for Maxim, for Yaroslav, but also maybe even for Rafael. So looking forward, if you were tasked with devising a strategy for minimizing free riding, what would you do? Like Rafael, that we have, thorough selection process. Everybody has to do tests. We place on teams only students who pass all of the tests on time, and we do not allow people to participate if they have not completed those 4 weeks of training and testing. And so, so we try to filter out those who potentially can be free riders, but evidently it's not working perfectly. So it sounds like on your teams, you had at least someone who was not as active, at least one person. And so I'm not sure, maybe that's inevitable. Maybe, no matter how much you select, how much you train, there will be always someone who is a slacker. But still, if you guys were, let's say we pay you a large amount of money and appoint you responsible for minimizing the free rider problem, what would you do? What would you do so that next semester we don't have any people on any teams that don't do their share of work? Do you think there is something that can be done? And if so, what?
So I think that team members must contact this man who didn't do anything and ask him why did he don't want to work, or what's up. Overall, we just have to contact him.
Well, it's actually a really hard question. I didn't think much about it, but probably although X-Culture is probably making X-Culture paid, so you have to pay to take part in it. They will encourage those who pay to participate in it, but I mean it still is paid. It's just that some of the groups were allowed to participate in X-Culture as skulls right this year. I'm not sure. It's a really hard question.
Yeah, if you ever have any suggestions, we're always looking for methods to reduce free riding. And I'm honestly, I'm not even sure if it's possible. Like, for example, again, I'll share with you one study that we're doing now in the university track. So I tried manipulating team membership, basically who gets to be a team member, to see if that's going to impact performance. And so I had some teams that are randomly assigned, most of them. I had some teams where we would have 6 people and all 6 are star students. Like they got the perfect score on the readiness test. They have the best, come from the best top universities, from the most diligent professors, classes, everything is elite, super good. All 6 people are stars. And then we also had teams where all 6 people are slackers. They barely passed the readiness test. They were a few times late. They were, basically, like nothing was very good about them. And so what we noticed that in all of those three conditions, we still had the same dynamics. So there are always a couple of people who do most of the work. There are two more who kind of do some work, but not too much. And there are two who are kind of slackers, maybe one who is a slacker. And so we noticed that even when everybody is a star, same dynamic happens, because some people say, okay, Maxim is doing all the work, so I don't have to, and they stop working. And the same thing in the slacker teams, nobody's working, and then somebody says, well, nobody's working, maybe I should do something. And so it's almost like strange, but it almost looks like no matter how you compose the team and who you put on the team, there will be always someone who is more productive, someone who is less productive, and then someone, sort of in the middle. And so I'm not sure, I don't know, I mean, we need to do more research here, but it almost seems to me that no matter what you do, there will be always someone who will see that others are doing most of the work, so they don't have to, and they'll stop. And the other way around, there will be always someone who will do the work, even if nobody else is doing the work. So I don't know, I mean, they're just some observations. So I'm kind of almost losing hope that we can fully eradicate the free rider problem. But if you have any suggestions, I would be very curious to hear them.
I mean, composing a team out of team members who already participated in X-Culture and who were doing most of the work, maybe it would work, but I don't know how it's even possible to organize this.
But that's sort of, so that would be maybe sometime in the future. But yeah, so as I said, my impression is that it's just people. So I mean, it's not that we allowed bad people to participate, or it's not that we didn't provide enough incentives. It seems to me that people always try to minimize their sort of effort. And when they see that somebody's doing the work, they're sort of like, okay, well, he's doing everything, maybe I should stop, or at least I don't have to worry so much, because he'll probably do it anyway. So I don't know, it just seems like it's human nature as opposed to, so I'm sure there are still ways to minimize the problem. Like, for example, ever since we added peer evaluations, the situation improved, because in the first few years, we didn't have peer evaluations and it was much worse. Now that every week we have to do peer evaluations, it's definitely making.
Could I add something?
Sure.
No, okay, yes, you can go first.
I think Eva, you would go first because I just need more opinions from people.
I'm going to go first. Okay, when we look at the difference between university track and academy track, the major difference is that in the academy, you are here because you have decided to come here. It was your own initiative, right? And here, Maxim Yaroslav, you seem to be very motivated person. You want. Are you okay, Raphael? When you
No,
do this,
it's, I mean, most of the participants think that way, but there are a couple that comes with school, right? So they,
okay.
Yeah, so it's,
Let's not think about the school one.
okay.
Let's think about the one that participate in X-Culture because they want to have a unique experience and learn new things. And the thing is that I feel like this person produced a better work that university students who are forced by the university somehow to work on this report. I've read.
Happens all the time. Happens all the time. True.
I've read 30 reports in 30 university reports this semester, and there was only one report that stood up, only one. And I figured out after that it was an academy report. And then I read almost all the academy reports, and they were incredible. I was literally shocked by the level, because this was not academy level, this was university level. And I even sent a message on the group with Raphael and Luis, and I was like, guys, I'm shocked. Oh, academy reports are so great. And I think that, okay, maybe we have more free riders in academy, but the students who are very motivated, they produce an incredible job.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I noticed that too. Very true.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, that's probably because most of those university students do it as a routine because they need to pass the course, right? And while maybe academy students, most of the academy students have a bit different goals they want to learn for themselves. Yeah, so.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's called select
Dr. Vaz, I think we don't hear you anymore.
Selection bias. So not only as there's in the Culture Academy. So usually those would be sort of top of the class, most motivated, most diligent, basically people who are not content with school and seek to do even more. And obviously that's different from an average university student who just simply happens to be in a course where X-Culture is part of the course. So selection bias.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, thank you. Colleen, do you want to share about your experience? We are out of time, but we can hear you for a couple of minutes.
Sure. So I really liked it. My teammates were great. We had a great time, and the company we worked for. What I think we really liked it. There was just one thing. There was one teammate who liked to control a lot of things. So like for example, sometimes she did some of my parts I had to do, so it was kind of annoying. But overall, it was good.
So you had the opposite problem. So the boys had problems with someone not doing their work, and you had someone who was trying to do everybody's work, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like for example, sometimes she wanted like to decide which person would do something, and she was very controlling.
Well, I guess that's a problem too, but it's a very different kind of problem. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
But
Maybe you'll also find it like useful about the communication tools. So for the most of the communication, like we used WhatsApp as a text-based messaging, right? And also, as I said, we also did some video calls on Zoom. And for the project, we use Google Docs.
that's good. That's good.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
Colin, just I will ask the same question. Were you happy with your final report? How did you feel about it?
I mean, I think it could have been better. Like, I think like there were some mistakes, like for example, in grammar that could be avoided. But overall, I think we did a lot of research, so I hope it will be good.
Okay, and one question for everyone. Did you guys use ChatGPT for something regarding research or writing?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, I
Good
registered
question.
on ChatGPT only at the end of the project because I didn't really use it much at all before the project. I just, I don't know, I didn't find it like really useful, but then when I discovered actually, well, I mean, I don't use it for work where I want to contribute, not like a machine, right? But no, for the report, I didn't use ChatGPT at all.
And that's too bad. ChatGPT is extremely useful as an assistant. So it helps a lot with research. It does a very good job with copy editing. So obviously, if you use it instead of your own work, that's a problem. But if you use it as an assistant, I strongly encourage you to do so. So it does allow you to do a better job. It does help you find useful information. It does a pretty good job checking your writing, for like missing commas and typos and stuff like that. So I actually encourage you to use it in the future, not as a sort of substitute, but as an accomplice or as a complement to your own work.
Okay, yeah, I understand why. Like, but
No, I use
guess
it all the time for my own writing. So yeah, again, not as a cheating device, but as an assistant, as something like as a research tool, essentially.
I guess main reason why I didn't use it is because I wanted, like, my main goal for X-Culture was to gain experience. I wanted to gain this experience in writing and conducting all the text.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. But yes, don't shy away from ChatGPT. If used correctly, it can be a very useful tool and ethical too. So it doesn't have to be cheating. It can be used ethically.
Yeah, probably could leverage using it.
Yeah, what I do for English, actually, I try to write myself my own text, and then I ask ChatGPT if he would change anything. So in that way, I understand what it went wrong or not.
Actually, that could have been really useful because I spent a lot of time just like copy pasting my text to the Google Translate and looking at how it improves it, and also Grammarly. So maybe it could save me a lot of time, but it is how it is already.
And,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
by the way, it not only checks your grammar, but it can also critique your text. It can say, okay, this is good, this is repetitive, this is unclear. So basically, it's almost like you ask your friend or your parent, to read your work and critique it. And so it will not give you the answer, so to speak, but it will tell you what needs to improve, which parts are good. So also in terms of the content, not just the grammar.
But okay, thank you guys. We are out of time, right? So just a reminder for you, tomorrow is the deadline for the reflection paper. Okay, so make sure to submit it by tomorrow. And also next week, let me check, we will have the live presentations. Okay, probably around Wednesday, Thursday, we will select the best video presentation that will present on that day. We will announce soon. Okay, so that's it for today, guys, and I hope to see you next weekend.
Actually, I'm sorry, may I ask a question?
Sure.
So about the reflection paper, it should be like 2 or 3 pages long, right? Or one is enough?
It's up to you. One's enough.
Oh, I see. It's just guidelines which are recommended to follow, right?
Okay, and I mean, there are a couple students that even write 5 pages, but if you can write everything in one and it's good for you, it's fine.
Yeah, I see. I just was wondering.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And a special kudos to the organizing team, guys. Great job. The first half, I didn't realize that you go so deep and prepare so many activities. Very impressive. Very impressive. Thank you so much for doing all that.
That's Eva, Emily, and Yash.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye. See you next weekend.
Bye. See you next
Have a nice
week.
day. Bye.